Hello, BookTube. I'm doing a tag today. This is the Fictional Universes Tag, also known as possibly the Rabbit Hole Tag. I was tagged by Williams Library, who is actually the originator of this tag. So I was tagged by the tag creator, uh, who tagged me way back on May 9, over a month ago. So apologies for getting to this a little bit late. I've been busy lately. So I'll link to his original video in the description down below. He gives some rules for what counts and what doesn't count as a fictional universe. He explains it all much better than I could, so I'll just link to his video there. You can check that out if you want to see what the rules are. But yeah, let's jump into the questions. Question one is, in which fictional universe would you visit and explore? Well, I just got done talking about the Bone graphic novel, and I think this would be a lot of fun to visit and explore. I mean, I'm not sure I'd want to live in this universe, although there are probably worse fictional universes that you could live in. But just in terms of a lot of wacky creatures and interesting things to see, I think this would be quite up there. I've got a follow up, if that's allowed, or a runner up, which is Discworld. I don't know if I want to live in the Discworld universe. I think it would probably frustrate me after a while, all the silly stuff that goes on there, but it would be a lot of fun to explore in. Number two, in which fictional universe would you like to stay in if you couldn't return? So this one is a little bit of a qualified answer, but I've been reading the complete stories of Oz. And in these books, especially in the later books, L. Frank Baum is trying to set Oz up as this wonderful paradise where everybody has enough for their needs. Nothing bad ever happens. Nobody ever dies. There's no need for money. He contradicts this frequently. So just about, because he needs drama to happen in order for him to have a story. So just about every story in here will contradict this somewhat before wrapping up at the end again to show what a beautiful utopian place it is. So there's a question of, do you want the Oz utopia as it's supposed to be, or do you want the actual Oz that L. Frank Baum ends up reverting to because he can't think of a good story to do in the utopia version? You've got that conflict there, but for the sake of this tag, I'm going to say I'm imagining that there's a utopian Oz out there where everyone's really happy and lives on a nice green farm and the rolling hills, and there's lots of interesting creatures. I'll go with this one. If you have to stay somewhere where you can't return, you might as well go for a utopian fantasy, right? Number three, what fictional universe would you avoid? This may be cheating, but William in his original video said a zombie apocalypse, and I really can't think of a better answer than that. I mean, just, I guess, any kind of horror universe would be somewhere I'd like to avoid, but yeah. Zombie apocalypse. Let's go with that one. Number four, in which fictional universe would you fight for a cause or enter a competition? So I think I'm going to go for the Star Wars universe here in terms of fighting for a cause. Now, I'm getting to the age now where I don't have a lot of athleticism left in my body. Like if I was running and jumping and punching people or something like that, I would just hurt my knees and pull my shoulder. Not that I was ever really a fighter, but I'm way past the age where I would pick it up now. But this is fantasy, so let's just assume it's a fantasy. I go into the Star Wars universe. I mean, ever since I was 5 years old, I wanted to be in that Star Wars universe, fighting the bad guys, shooting the laser gun, swinging the lightsaber. Now, since I've grown up, I've become a pacifist in political outlook and believe that wars are not justified because there is never a war of pure good between pure evil. There's always just flawed human beings on both sides. But this isn't about real life. This is a fantasy universe. And in the fantasy universe of Star Wars, it is made explicitly clear right from the first movie that it is about pure good versus pure evil. Um, there's the the bad guys are all portrayed as either less than human in some way or some sort of mindless automaton that you don't have to feel guilty about fighting. And I'm going to assume, for the sake of this answer, that I would be one of the heroes, right? Because, I mean, that first Star Wars movie famously opens up with a whole bunch of rebel soldiers getting killed to demonstrate how intimidating the Empire is. So that's always something to consider with these questions, right? Would you be one of the heroes, or would you be one of the side characters who just gets killed at the beginning of the movie? Actually, I don't know. Can you, and for the purposes of this tag, can you just assume that you would be one of the heroes? Or would you, is that cheating? Would you just, you're thrown into this universe, you've got to take your chances? I mean, the Star Wars definitely has what they call, what do they call it? The main character shield, where nothing bad ever happens to the main characters, but everybody else around them gets killed. I don't know. If I had to fight for a cause, Star Wars universe I think would be the one where I would do it, because it's pure good versus pure evil. Runner up would be the Lord of the Rings, because that's also pure good versus pure evil. And for that matter, a lot of fantasy is. But the Lord of the Rings, even in when you're reading the books, it's not a universe you'd want to be in. I mean, it's a lot of walking around through cold mountains and through barren landscapes and across swamps and rationing out your food and water very carefully. That's the picture you get from the books. It's not just constant excitement and swinging around and going off in your X-wing fighter pilot. That's what you get in the Star Wars universe. So the Star Wars universe would be much more fun to fight for a cause in. Okay, number 5. In which fictional universe would you want to rule? So I thought about this. I really don't want to rule. I'd love to have the riches of a king. And possibly the power of the king. People have to do what I tell them to type power. But I do not want to have the responsibility of ruling and having to figure out what the grain policy would be, and worrying about usurpers to the throne and all of that stuff that would go with the real business of day-to-day government. That would, huge headache, don't need it. Much too lazy to do something like that. So I guess the answer is I don't want to rule. I just want to be rich and powerful in a fictional universe. But that's cheating, isn't it? So I thought, well, those Narnia books. Remember at the end, those 4 children become kings and queens and appear to live a very charmed life as kings and queens of that universe. I guess the Narnia books, it seems like the kings and queens in those books have a very happy life. I'll go for that one. All right, and then number 6. tag somebody. I'm going to go through somewhat of my usual suspects here. I will do Dane at Dane Reads. I'll do Jim at Jim's book reading and stuff. I'll do Kelly at Books I'm Not Reading, and Mindy at Mindy's Book Journey. Graham at the Archive. Uh, Kelsey, if Kelsey's still around, I haven't seen a video on his channel for quite some time, but Kelsey, if you're out there and you're looking for an excuse to jump back into it, uh, feel free to take up this tag. Yeah, and I'll go with that.